Welcome to a leadership moment. I'm your host, Dr. Rhonda Anderson. I'm the principal and chief talent development officer for Silverhawk Coaching and Consulting. I am the co-founder of the Influential Leaders Alliance. And today we are here to interview one of my faves. She's a professional in the field. We're here to interview with Keshawn Hughes. And so she will be talking about one of the learning outcomes from my upcoming book, The Influential Leader Blueprint, which we'll discuss that later on in the presentation. So today we're going to talk about navigating and leading change with confidence using data-driven insights. And I felt like Keshawn was perfect for this topic with her data-driven project management background. And so we're going to get started. And so Keshawn, I'm going to turn it over to you. And so the first question is, share a bit about your background, your business initiatives, career, and what led you to where you are today.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity, Dr. Anderson. I'm so excited to talk to you and your audience about this topic. When you sent it to me and when we talked about this topic, I thought about my mind went straight back to my days of working for one of the world's leading data analytics companies that holds most of the world's personally identifiable information. And so I was there for almost 8 years, and that's where I got so many of my business chops. That's where I got so many of my skills that I still utilize today. But I won't stop there. I'm Keshawn Hughes. I'm the founder and CEO of Neurosavvy Leadership, and I created that company and established it out of my own sense of just wanting a place to go for evidence-based, practical advice that could help me feel healthier and happier at work. I have my own burnout journey from working for different companies for over 19 years, working in different professional spaces, being a high achiever, being someone who was very high performing and had high potential that wasn't always sought after, that wasn't always identified, that wasn't always visible. And so I now get to share those tools that I learned along the way. Once I got my own coaching, once I got my own, I would say, success squad that poured into me, my mentorship, sponsors, and identified champions that would put my name out in the atmosphere without me having to work so hard. So I would not be burned out anymore. And I
Right.
share those tools with other leaders. But I've worked for different corporations that maybe many of the names that you would know. Newell Brands is one. So I was an account manager for them with them for years. My background and my degree, my original undergraduate degree is in marketing and business administration. So that's the foundation for the way that I lead and think. I think in frameworks. I think in results. I think in sales orientation. I'm not afraid of a no. So a lot of times I help coach leaders through how do you say no? Coach
Right.
women through how do I get comfortable and confident with saying no? So that's a whole thing that
Yeah.
I've been able to utilize and from my experience, from the skills that I've gained through working for corporations. And then also I have a master's degree in strategic communication. I am a communicator. I love all things communication. So that's something that I also bring to the table when I'm working with leaders and organizations. And what we do now, we have three different pillars for our business. We provide coaching, both one-on-one and group coaching for executives and managers, particularly middle managers, people who were once individual contributors who are now finding themselves leading people. Really different skill sets that are needed there. We
Mhm.
also develop resources, so lots of different content and communication. So when you need a train the trainer session developed, when you need a guide to map your employees on how to lead through change, we're your people for that. And then we also provide consulting. And so if you have a problem in your business and you just want to think through the strategy, we can provide those neuroscience-based insights, also things that are related to strategic communication and very helpful best practices. We can make sure that you come along the way and have great success. So that's me in a nutshell, and that's what I do, and this is what I love, just talking about leadership, all the opportunities I have to talk about leadership, how to navigate through change successfully. I'm here for it.
Oh,
This is what
I
I
love it. And see, this is why I wanted to interview her. She's so amazing, right? And I love the background, so she's come from a project management data background, but marrying it now to like leadership development and coaching. I mean, it is just like an amazing one-two punch combo. I love
Thank
that. Ever since
you.
I met Shauna, she told me about that background. I was just like, oh my gosh, that's amazing because it puts her so much further ahead of the pack. With even just being a leader and business owner herself, she understands data. And if
Yes.
you don't understand data right, you need to get you somebody who does.
Yes, it's so important. And there's so many different kinds of data. One thing that I learned about from working for the organization that I mentioned is LexisNexis Risk Solutions. And so they're a global organization and working for them for almost 8 years. What I learned is dirty data in or poor data in, poor
Mm,
data outputs. It will
mm,
only affect your performance and your outcomes. So you want to make sure that you cleanse your data, that you are very intentional about the type of data you bring into your decision making because it will absolutely affect your outputs and your outcomes and your results.
girl, yes. So now we're going to transition to the next question. So,
Yes.
leading through change, change can be challenging for teams. I know I've experienced that. How do you
Mhm.
guide your team through uncertainty while keeping them engaged and motivated?
So good. I always like to lead and coach from an inside out perspective. So self-awareness is so key. And people think that they're self-aware, but a lot of times they're not. I think the statistics are some over 90% of people who think they're self-aware aren't actually. And so
Wow.
self-awareness is the will and skill to see yourself clearly. The will and the skill. It's a skill, right? It's a skill that you develop. And you don't just develop by being in your own head, by being in your own head and your own mind about what's happening before you, what you have to do, what's laid out before you to have to implement for your team. So, getting those external perspectives of trusted advisors, people who are skilled and have expertise that you trust, who align with your values. So, like I said, for my own self, once I got a success squad, it really advanced my potential. So, if you're leading through change, there's potential there that needs to be reached and you need to personally be able to manage that for yourself. So that's step number one.
Yes.
I would say step number two is just to be aware of the forces of resistance. There
Mm,
are oppositional forces that are equal at play. And so, just as much as you want to have that change, there's other forces that are equal to that that don't want that change to happen, that
mm,
want things to stay the same,
yeah.
right? Or even want things to go backwards. Those are the forces at play. So be aware of this. Don't be surprised when people come at you with resistance or things are moving and then there's something that stops the movement.
Mm,
Don't think about that as a surprise. Know that that's a force of resistance that is to be expected.
mm.
So that's what I would say. Just expect resistance and prepare yourself for it and be self-aware.
Yes, 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 yes. Self-aware is so key. I always tell people if your mind, this is me going like back to my country roots. If your
Oh,
mind,
yes. Ooh,
you
yes.
can't get right.
That's right.
Mind ain't right. And you really have to be okay with having gaps. And I
Ooh,
think a
that's
lot of
good.
times leaders they feel like, well, I am at a certain level. I should not have gaps, but we do. And
Ooh, all the time.
yes,
Yes.
we're
That's
getting, and
human.
it's a constant workflow for us to really be looking at the gaps and asking
Mhm.
people, hey, how do you view me? How am I doing? Asking your employees, asking your friends, asking your family, and really taking a
Mm.
detailed look, at what are the things that are common and that they're telling me, and being honest with yourself. So I'm glad you said start with self-awareness. That's
Oh,
that's
thank you for
one of
saying
the
that. Yes. Thank you so much. Yes. And yes. So I'm glad you're glad that I said that. And that's where we begin. That's where everyone should begin, in my opinion. Yes.
Yes. So now we're going to go to the next question. How do you use data to inform your leadership decisions? And can you share an example of a time when data changed your approach?
Absolutely. Data is key. And there's, like I said, lots of different data sets. So being aware of what those are, ensuring that the inputs that you have positive, are honest,
Mhm.
are transparent, and aligning with your values and your goals. So just making sure that that happens is key. But my background is, like I said, marketing. I'm a marketer. And yes, I've managed lots of marketing projects, also tech projects, galore, hundreds at this point. And through listening, which is another skill that people really, you can go real deep with listening, okay? One way that marketers listen is by asking questions and surveying, and then looking at the data and analyzing it, putting it on a chart, seeing where things go up and down and crossways and all of that. And so looking at data, listening, asking questions, it could be through surveys, through pre and post surveys are so important, like we talked about. And I will say, just most recently, I want to use where I am now as a leader in managing my business. I have a speaking business as well. So I'm a speaker. And one of my most popular speeches is Breakout from Burnout. It's a presentation that literally launched my leadership development career because I was coming out of corporate. I had experienced burnout. I had overcome burnout and then was laid off. So there was an opportunity there to
Yes.
now put what I'd learned and utilized successfully out in the world. And so that's what I started with. And I've done it so many countless times since then. But every time I do the presentation, it's pretty much the same tenets that can be presented. But the survey, the pre-survey that I do before is what determines how I show up and what information I share.
Mhm.
Most recently was last summer, I did a presentation for a women's organization at a construction company. And they're women's employee resource group.
Mhm.
And the leaders that were coming to me requesting that I do this presentation, they themselves felt like they were burned out and they were going to use this presentation to be sure, like maybe I am, maybe I am, but we're going to use you and your expertise to help us determine a path forward for ourselves individually. And so I said, well, thank you for sharing that so vulnerably. I'm going to give you a survey to send to your attendees, the attendees that are coming. There were over 100 attendees who came. And through that data, I realized, oh, the issue is not individual. This is organizational.
Wow.
Some cultural building, some culture building strategies that are needed. There are some resources that need to be provided at the organizational level, at the leadership level, because I could give you some great breath techniques and some mindfulness practices and something else to learn how to do the different types of rest. There are 7 different types of rest. We can go into that. Or we can talk about what's happening in the organization and use this as a way to leverage a person's an outside perspective and their expertise. So it's not all on you. It's not you all pointing out something bad and saying leadership is bad. Here's this outside expert perspective that is saying that here are some things that can help your business, that can
Mm.
help your business grow. This is actually affecting your bottom line. So that's what I was able to do. And that's the data. I wouldn't have known that had I not asked for the pre-survey. I would have gone in and had an approach that may have been helpful, but not transformational, that
Yeah.
not led to then them making changes in their organization that
Mm.
could then affect not only that women's employee resource group, but the entire company. This is culture building, culture changing work that we were able to identify through data. So that's an example.
Well, kudos for you to, not only addressing the organizational needs, but also looking at what the employees are saying. Because that's what I love about the power of coaching, right? You can address a group on what you think they need, right? And it could be a topic that they really need, but you really get to the root of the issue when you get data or you're coaching people in that one-to-one mindset, like
Yes,
a what are your needs and how can this, and then seeing the patterns right throughout the data is saying this is, like you said, this is something more cultural,
yes.
being able to address it. I love that. I love that. And
Thank you. Me too.
so it's just like, to me, I feel like it's the small things in leadership that pack a powerful punch.
Mm,
And I could say as a leader all day, I feel like my organization needs this, but if I hadn't asked my employees what they need, then I'm leaving some things on the table with that,
absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
and
Yes.
and it's
Oh,
about putting people first, basically. That's what it is, putting people first. Like in every decision, you're putting people first.
yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Yes.
great, 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 great. Now we're going to the next question. Oh, while data is critical, leadership also requires intuition. How do you balance analytical insights with human judgment when making tough decisions?
How do we balance it? First of all, starting from within, understanding what intuition is to you. I
Mm,
think some people, they have different definitions of what intuition is.
uh-huh.
And what I'll share is mine. It's your area of expertise and the thing that you're most preoccupied with, that you can even be neurotic about focusing on. that's where your intuition can happen most because intuition is built and it's like a muscle that you can build over time.
Mm,
So say, like I said, I'm a marketer at heart. I studied it. I've been studying it since I was 17. I've done it in the business world. I literally got to a place where I could do it with my eyes closed like a robot, which is why I knew I needed a career pivot because I needed something that activated more of me from the
mm,
heart of me, not just from the logic mind. And so intuition can come out in a marketing question that I'm asked. That can just come out like that. If you ask me, I'll just be able to pull from that and that experience, and it can lead and guide the decisions that are made. So you find intuition in your body too. So our bodies give us signals when we have an intuitive hit. A lot of times we ignore those signals and we just want to think through it. We just want analysis. We just want logic to lead our decisions. And this is a quote that I give, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't know exactly what it is,
Okay.
but I have it on my screen. I can quote it, but it's from Albert Einstein, who is one of my favorite scientists of all time. And he talks about intuition needing to be the leader and logic needing to be the servant. But that serves the leader. Our intuition needs to lead us, and logic needs to serve that intuition. But we've become a society where logic is the leader and our intuition serves the logic. It's
Yeah.
backwards.
Yeah.
The most successful leaders that we can name names have been led through intuition.
Mm,
One I like to quote is Harriet Tubman. She allowed intuition to lead her and lead people out of slavery, okay? She
right.
would like black out and her body would come and tell her where to go next.
Yeah.
And they would go and she got people out of enslavement. I mean, we can even quote Bill Gates, all the leaders that we see, the founder of of Apple, who passed away. He was a very intuitively led leader as well. So we cannot discount leader. The people whose names we see in history
Yeah.
were intuitive. They trusted those not just survival instincts. These were their information that was coming towards them that was in alignment with their vision.
Mhm.
We have got to include that as a data set. It is an important data set. We should consider it. If we can't access intuition, because intuition is not like all of it, because people think intuition is instinct, staying alive, doing
Mhm.
something to get us out of danger. Intuition is actually that small, still voice that is aligned with our vision. So we have to make space to actually hear it. We have to be in touch with our bodies because it typically comes up through our body, through all of these senses that are all over our bodies. And it's when we shut down our logic brain, which is our prefrontal cortex, right behind my hand, our
Mhm.
forehead. When we
Mhm.
shut down that thinking brain for just a second, or when we create space in our days and our weeks, for me, it's during my meditation time that these intuitive insights come to me. And
Mhm.
then I investigate them and I use data from social media, from the internet, from my past expertise, from expert leaders like you to then see, oh, how is this lining up to these intuitive insights I received during my intuition and my meditation time?
Mm.
That's something that I can say a lot. I do whole presentations about intuition. I get really into it, but
Yeah.
I want to get into it to encourage people to utilize it, to recognize it, to not discount it, to not only be logic analytics focused. Use that as an additional data set
Yeah.
and make your decisions from there. That's what helps you. I know you're going to ask me this later, but we even talked about this. Show up more confidently. Confident people are people who trust their intuition.
Yes. Yes. Totally agree with that.
Yes. Yes. So that's I can say a lot, but I'm gonna let it there
No,
because
let it
it'll go.
go. It was a great answer, though. I loved it. And, just going back and thinking about some of the leaders, like even Madam C.J. Walker, like a lot of them, they did not follow, the rule book that was dealt to them. Not all the way, right? Because they had to do
Exactly.
things on their own to make success come to them. Because if they would have followed the rule book, then there wouldn't be a
Yes,
Madam C.J. Walker, so,
right.
or Harriet Tubman, so I love that.
Right. I feel like those, yes, societal norms that
Yep.
are put in place typically to protect or to keep people in line.
Yes.
Sometimes that's not intuition. Well, a lot of times that's not intuition. Intuition is outside of those lines. And it's like, I'm gonna step over this edge because I'm getting another idea here. There's a sense that's pulling me, and it's a pull, not a push,
Yes.
right? It's a
Yes.
pull. You're being pulled in this direction. Oh, we can, like I said, we could start a whole nother conversation just about that. And
Yeah.
I'd be here for it. But
All
yes,
right. All right. We'll have to do that. We'll have to definitely do
let's
that.
do it. Yes.
So the next question, and this is the last question, people often resist change, which I've
Mm,
seen that, and I had
yes,
to go early on in my career. Okay, even when the data supports it, what
yes.
strategies do you use to gain buy-in and drive successful change initiatives?
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. We talked about that. Just first of all, being aware and knowing resistance is there. So go into it knowing there will be resistance because you want to operate from a state of alertness and not being alarmed,
Yes.
not being shocked, not being hurt, not being offended. Okay. So these are all the places that our ego and sometimes very righteously are warranted,
Mhm.
want to take us to, but we have to be prepared and aware and not alarmed, but alert to it. I always like to give, there's a statistic, there's a study that's been done. I can't tell you exactly who, but I can find it. And if you put it in the Googles, you can find it too.
Yes.
There's a 20-60-20 rule.
Mm.
So I like to look at populations and groups, and I've done this just informally in my friend groups, in my family, at organizations, in meetings. I'm in a sorority. I do it at sorority meetings. Okay. So I'm just going to see if this aligns with the 20-60-20 rule. Whenever a new idea, a new approach is presented, or we're in the midst of a change or a transformation happening, you will have 20% who are leading and advocating for that change. Okay. They sit in that 20% box. They are the go getters. Okay. We want to call them that. They're the people who are selling the change and they're for it.
Mhm.
And then you have 20% who I don't care if it's the best change, if it literally is the a new creation like ice cream coming out that's going to bring everybody joy. And they'll say, no, not for me. Bad idea. Don't want it. And you shouldn't want it either. There will be 20% of that group who will not want it, who will oppress it, suppress it, stand up against it. They just don't want it. And there's the 60% that's called the movable middle. They
Mm.
could go either
Love
way.
that. Movable.
Whose voice is going to be the loudest? Who's going to be the most influential? Who's
Right.
going to be able to have the best relationships, right? Have
Mhm.
the most appeal, the most charisma, the most rewarding experience that
Yeah.
they can provide, that they can set that vision for you to make you just want to go in that direction? Or will you allow fear and opposition to lead you? Because either way, we see the forces playing out right now today in society, right? We
Yeah.
have oppositional forces at play and they can lead in some seasons. And
Mhm.
this can happen too for your change or your initiative. So just be aware when you go into a room, when you're going to present anything, there will be resistance. Whose voice is going to be the most influential and the loudest? And
Mhm.
how are you going to have data points that actually aren't just about you and your perspectives, but come from other people that support this change,
Yes.
right? You have to show more than just your perspective. You
Yeah.
have to show and know your audience and know that you're, like I said, with that marketing, with that burnout talk that I did, I could have presented more individualized pieces of data to support those people who came. But what they needed was organizational change. So I
Mhm.
needed to present that data too, right? To really make change happen. I have to know my audiences. Every good marketer and communicator knows that. So know what those are and then present both sets of data and have it be a reward for people to come along with you.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the way to build influence and build coalition building and say, come on, we can go this way. It's going to work. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. You're going to be so happy about it. This is the best way forward. Speak
Oh,
to those 60%, that movable middle, and move them in your direction.
yes, yes. When I think about movable middle, I think about the link, I mean the Instagram craze, right? Everybody's talking about boots on the ground, right?
Yes, yes,
I know.
that's
I don't know.
right.
I think I'm probably like over it now, but I think you still have
Yes,
that.
it was fun
Right, you
for
got your
a time.
people, right? You got
Yes,
that 60% that's keeping boots on the ground alive. You hear
yes, that is so funny.
it
That
is
is so
viral,
funny.
viral, and
Yes,
it makes you like, okay, well, maybe
yes.
I need to have my boots on the ground. Yeah,
Right. That's right. Let me make sure I get my fan, okay? I
that's
gotta be
right.
ready. I gotta be ready.
That's
Just have it
right.
ready at all times.
That's right. And so, having those people who support the change, because they're
Yes,
actually, when I said boots on the ground, they're actually your boots on the ground.
that's
When you're
right.
the
Oh, that's so
leader,
good.
they
Oh,
are
that's
able to kind of drop little seeds like, hey, this is going to be great. This is going to help us. This is going to, I can help you, and so that is one of those things is the influence that the movable middle can have on
That's
everybody.
right.
So,
Yes, and there are some neuro savvy ways to get them moving with you. And I can tell you that at another time. Just reach out to me and I'll let you know what those are.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, I think the podcast is on the way. Not now, not now, but
Okay, good. Well, we coming. Yes,
so
yes,
we coming. And
it's
so I
coming.
think that we have one more question.
Okay, okay.
What advice would you give to leaders who want to become more confident in navigating change and making data-driven decisions?
That's so good. Well, study to show yourself approved, okay? So be a lifelong learner instead of I always say I'm a recovering know-it-all because I used to think I knew it all, but the more I learned, the more I knew that I don't know nothing. There's so much that I don't know, right?
I
So
love
be a lifelong learner, be a learn-it-all versus a know-it-all.
it.
That gives you confidence to go into something, willing to ask questions, willing to see other people. It makes you more persuasive. It makes you more engaging to talk to, which
Mhm.
helps to build your confidence. Document your wins. Everybody has wins. We
Yes.
can be so hard on ourselves and
Mhm.
feel like ain't nothing going right. Ain't nothing ever went right. But if
Yes.
you're listening to this right now, there's a lot going right for you. I would be willing to bet
Mm.
there's so much going right for you. Document those wins. Talk about them more. Find safe spaces to talk about your wins. People, and when you're building up your champions, they love it. They want to hear it. They'll repost it. They'll reshare it. They'll tell others about your wins, right?
Yes.
Build up your good set of champions. Have an echo chamber that affirms you because you are worthy and you are confident. It just has to be brought out. So when you document things, that's your data, right? And you have a whole record that you can go to, especially on those hard days or those down days, and look at those documented wins. Also, I would say practice your delivery. So that's something that really makes you confident. It's something I work with a lot of leaders on. Your communication skills are so key. That's why I studied strategic communication as a master's, because I felt like all great leaders were great communicators.
Mhm.
Not saying they all had the same tonality, but they knew how to engage people, how to sell a dream. Okay. They knew how to do it and to get people along. Even if they weren't visionary, they knew how to latch on to a vision and move people towards that for great results. So be very cognizant of the way that you communicate, record yourself, listen back. We talked about this even before this call, how we don't like listening to our own voices, right? But
Right.
do it. Do it anyway. It helps build your confidence. Do mirror work. Say these things in the mirror so you have some data sets that you're going to present. Practice presenting them.
Yeah.
Practice recording yourself and listening back to it. Send it to other people who can give you some tips, which are great, right? To help your delivery be its best. So if you want to be more data driven in your decision making, study data, get different perspectives from trusted sources that are legitimate and ethical, I would say. Always have that type of boundary to keep you on the right path, I would say. And then practice. Practice makes better over time.
I love it. And I love how you said be a learn it all, right? And I feel like that is one of the major issues with leaders today. It's like, I've heard about teamwork, or I've heard about, EQ. I've heard about, but my question is always, what have you executed? If you hadn't executed anything, then there's room for you to learn. And when you start feeling like you know everything, then that lets me know your level as a leader, you've capped out,
Right.
for the most part,
Ooh,
because every time I've reheard a topic, there's something else that I've gleaned from it. And like you said, be a learn it all. Be a learn
yes.
it all and never feel like you know everything, because that is when you've capped out. You're no longer being influential to your team if you
Ooh,
feel like you know it all.
yes.
I like
That's
be a learn it all. So
yes.
yeah.
So good. So good. Absolutely.
Yes. So that was our last question. And so here we are. The influential leader blueprint is in pre-sales mode. The link is down, will be down in the comment. I wrote this book, one, because it's all out there in the literature about leaders wanting practical guides, right? Not mostly theoretical, because I can be a theoretical person, right? If I wanted to, but I'm like, theory is great to learn, but the practicality of things is what people need right now, and it meets them where they are. And so I wrote the Influential Leader Blueprint for people who may not have a title as a leader, emerging leaders, VPs, entrepreneurs, because we all have those gaps. And it is If it's not your goal to become more influential, I tell you right now, it should be your goal to become influential because those are the leaders who are well respected. They're resourceful. They're the go-to. And so people just have that mad respect for leaders who are on that particular trajectory. And those leaders tend to lead with greater impact. And that is my goal. That is, I'm sure, I know that's Keshawn's goal.
That's my goal too. I love
That's
it.
right.
Yes.
That's right. And so that is why I wrote the Influential Leader Blueprint. And it is full of, so it's not just a book that you're going to read, right? This book is going to take you on a journey. It has tons of tools inside of the book to help you take action right now. It's not where you read the book and, you go on for months without doing anything with it. After each chapter, there is a power move that you're asked to make at the end of the chapter. And it is actually a tool there to help you implement what you've just learned. And so I am so thankful. I'm thanking everyone in advance for buying copies because you can buy them for your team. If you are a professor, you can buy them for your class. You can do all the things with this. And hey, I'll even come and do a signature talk for you if you want me to. But like I said, this book is out. We will have a virtual book launch / networking mixer April 17th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll also drop that link in the comments as well. And so, with that being said, we are done. It is a wrap. I want to thank Keshawn so much for joining me. And I absolutely, you see why I love her, right? She is amazing, full of
You're
energy.
awesome.
She makes neural savvy brain stuff like appealing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Go to
And
sleep. We can go to sleep. We don't want to do that. We want to stay awake. We want to learn. Yes, learn it all. Yes.
That's right. And so, in honor of Women's History Month, again, this is why these interviews were happening too. I wanted to share some of my favorite subject matter experts, and then just honor them and just saying, "Hey, I see you. You're a phenomenal leader." And so, if you have any female leaders that are in your sphere of influence, make sure that you let them know that they are true rock stars. And again, that is a wrap. And tune in till next time. See you soon.